Hello, 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 hello.
Hey, Richard.
How you doing? How you
I'm
doing?
hanging. I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in. So we have Lisa and Peter and Bill is there. Okay, excellent. And so I have bios on everybody, I think.
Peter,
Yeah.
we're just waiting on Jerry, it looks like.
Right.
And do I have a bio on Jerry? I don't need a bio on Jerry. I can introduce him just fine. He's known to me. He's a known
I'll
quantity.
put him right in when he gets here.
Okay.
Bill, are you able to see me? Because I don't see me on the gallery.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
You're
good.
looking fabulous.
That would be ironic.
And so Bill, you know our producer Richard.
I do. Yeah, we do Rebels together.
Yes, we were. Lad, yes, we were.
Yeah, so you're doing it this year as well?
I am. Yep. We're doing a
And am I.
Tales from Ellis Island. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
1924, Christmas Eve.
So did anybody's grandparents go through Ellis Island?
Not that I know of.
No, okay, mine did.
Really? That's cool.
Did the name stay the same?
Not really, because it was a German name and there's a what they call an umlaut, so it's that two dots over a certain letter that got discarded, and so it sounds different without that. So there's no translation really in English. So it's the difference between glazer and glaser.
Oh, okay.
You see painters in the background having the house painted.
Hey, just let them know that we got some walls here at the radio station that are next on their list.
Yeah. No, I was taking advantage of John. John is my partner, who's a kind of I won't say germaphobe, but he doesn't like anything that isn't like, so the paint would bother him. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that he's not here to paint the house.
You got to
So,
seize on those
go.
moments.
Right. A finicky man, so we have to, yeah. And there's Jerry. And Bill, I would like for you to tell the audience where they can get tickets, the run of the show, let's do that like 4 times during the hour, or actually it's 40 minutes, but let's do that 4 times during the 40 minutes that we've got.
Okay.
And just jump in and do that in case I don't give timing for it.
Okay.
And Richard's going to be Richard Dugan is our producer, and throughout the hour he's going to be directing us. So how Richard directs is he uses his hands. He's counting things down for me to the station breaks.
Thank God she didn't say he's pounding sand.
Well, a lot of people think they just said like a bad word or something, and that the FCC is going to come down because Richard's doing this.
Well, let's try to keep it PG-13 at least.
Right,
because
right,
I don't want to
right.
have to edit.
I
Right.
think we can handle that.
Thank you very much.
And then the
Thank you.
show runs live now, and then it'll run tonight at 8, and then Sunday at 11.
Great.
And then I'm going to send Bill a recording of today, and you all can use it however you want, whether you use it for the shows, advertisement, whether you say something interesting and you want to use it for your website. So
All right, stand by. Bill, the magistrate's coming. The real magistrate is on his way. All right, stand by. I'm going to feed you
Put a
the audio
value
for
on
the
the
open
treasures in
feast.
your own home.
Recording of the video. is
Every
on.
time it rains pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven?
So let's find out.
3,
How valuable is it?
1, you're live.
Hello, 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 Santa Barbara. It's your chantress of everything valuable and beautiful, Elizabeth Stewart. And I have such a cool show today because I have some real pros with me today. And we're celebrating a new play. Actually, it's not a new play. It's a revision of a play. And it is called 154 in Paradise. And Richard should be like all over this one because he lives right in that area. It's 154 in Paradise because it's involving the story of an accident that takes place in our backyard here in Santa Barbara. The play is written by Gerald DePeggio, and I want to introduce everybody that's here. This is a play that's produced by the producing unit, and Bill Egan, who's been on our show before, is one of the founders. He's an actor, director, producer. He's been working in this genre for 20, 30 years. Past venues include the Rubicon, the Garvin, Circle Bar B, the Libero, and then the producing unit, obviously. He is, like I said, an actor who originated the role of James in the world premiere 7 years ago. Michael in God of Carnage, James in Time Stand Still, Hank in What Rhymes with America, and Michael in How to Translate Happy Marriage. Directorial credits, Private Wars, It Had to Be You, Steel Magnolias. The list goes on, and he is partnering with Peter Frisch. Now, Peter, it's funny. I was in high school, believe it or not, in Chicago, and I was with there was two high schools that were kind of like famous for their drama departments. Mine was one of them, and Steppenwolf Theater was just getting started at the time. And I remember our director, Eileen Kransky, was our drama teacher. She said, "Who wants to go paint sets for this new company called Steppenwolf downtown?" And I volunteered. That was the first time I heard Peter's name. Believe it or not, I've known Peter that long, or of him. And just a little bit about Peter. I actually called Richard yesterday, Peter, about you, because I said, this is one of the great pros of our nation. He's directed 160 productions in New York and regional theaters, etc. Classical, contemporary, plays, musical, cabaret, operas, network television in Los Angeles, producing director of Hyde Park Festival in New York, resident director with Berkshire Theater Festival, artistic director of American Playwrights Theater in Washington, D.C., Joseph Jefferson Award for Chicago premiere of American Dreams, co-authored with Studs Terkel, famous Chicago personality. And the list goes on regards, the Chicago credits, but he was creative producer on Fox Network's Tribes, producer on CBS The Young and the Restless, and directed several films. And this is internationally recognized teacher, coach. He's taught at Juilliard, Harvard, Boston University, Carnegie Mellon. He chaired their famous School of Drama. And Peter actually received his MFA at CMU, panelist for National Endowment for the Arts, for the Fulbright Committee, the Board of Society of Stage Directors and Choreographers. And I mean, this is a pro. I said to Richard, I often dream of hiring Peter to teach me how to be really confident when I walk in a room. And that's all I want to, I don't want to act. I just want to know how to burst into a room full of confidence. And Peter would be the guy I would go to first for that. And so Peter is here today. And then our playwright, I mean, like I said, this is a golden group of people. Gerald DePeggio was raised in Northeastern Illinois. He was raised in a family grocery store, but his food was movies and books. Came to California at age 30 as a novelist and screenwriter. He's written 5 books, and let me just brag a little bit on Jerry. He is a famous and highly successful screenwriter. I interviewed him once before on this show in regards to a book about how to write that he wrote. He's sole credit for writing Phenomenon with John Travolta. He wrote The Forgotten with, can you believe this, Richard? With Peter Frisch's student, Julianne Moore. So their relationship goes back. He wrote Message in a Bottle with Kevin Costner, Instinct with Anthony Hopkins, Angel Eyes with Jennifer Lopez, and Sharky's Machine with Burt Reynolds, and many, many other. And here's how Peter and Jerry met. So Peter obviously was teaching, and he was teaching in San Ynez Valley, and Jerry appeared in Peter's class saying, he spent his life with the finest of the finest actors, but he never acted himself. And he wanted to take an acting class with me, with Peter, to see what acting was like. And Peter and Jerry became instant friends. And Peter's class inspired Jerry to write a play. He wasn't a playwright before this. And this is the play that came of it. Now, it's been done before, but in researching the notes for today, I learned that because the cast is so interesting and so cerebral, that the cast decided to go a kind of a different way with Jerry's play. And we're going to hear about that because I want Bill to talk about that as well. I have one other great person to introduce, Lisa Beck. She is doing her first show with Producing Unit. She's a star in Santa Barbara, including Countess Adrenia Murda on the Orient Express, Elvira in Blithe Spirit, Stephanie in Time of My Life, Mrs. Rowland in Before Breakfast, Maggie in Red Herring. LA credits, Portia in The Merchant of Venice at the MET Theater, and then A Midsummer's Night's Dream at Raven Playhouse, Natasha and Three Sisters at Vanguard. She's appeared in independent films, TVs, commercials, and performs as a jazz vocalist, and is a graduate of Cornell. Very cool cast, and very cool. Everybody here is just an excellent pro. And Bill, I wonder if you can introduce the show a little bit and tell folks where to get tickets, and tell me a little bit about how this happened.
Well, sure. Well, 7 years ago, we were fortunate enough to be able to do this show, and it was our bestseller to date of what we have produced. And many folks missed it, and they said, "Boy, we'd love to have the chance to see it again." So when the opportunity arose, and Peter, you can jump here as well at any time because you were part of obviously the decision in which to remount that. But it's got a local hook with the 154 in Paradise, of course. Jerry, and we're going to hear from Jerry as well, where he will talk about the show. But we just wanted to remount it, and because the ultimate goal here is this piece needs a broader audience. We would like to take this to other places if we can, just because it's such a well-written piece and super intriguing, unique. And, this revision hopefully will start the word on the journey in which to do that some more. Peter, I don't know if you have some thoughts on that.
Well, I would say that you mean on the revival
Yes.
that we did. Yeah, I think it has to do with what you said, Bill, which is we definitely felt that this was the one of the, if not the strongest show that we've done, and yet it is not a published show yet. It has not been done in New York. At the time when we first looked at scripts, this is about 2015 when we did it first. We looked at a number of scripts that had gotten New York Times reviews with great, accolades and other things that had been done around the country, the top produced productions around the country. And then Jerry wrote this script and we looked at it and we thought this is as good or better than anything that we've seen nationally. It's a remarkable piece. It's a piece of magic realism that slowly unfolds and develops and surprises us at every turn. And even the last second is a surprise. And Jerry has that incredible ability to surprise us. And yet it seems also natural and organic to the plot development as it happens. And those two things are pretty rare.
Can I ask Peter, what is magical realism?
A magical realism is a literary style which has to do with not being overtly realistically where you are. You think you're in one place, you think you're in a particular universe, suddenly things shift and we realize that we're in a different universe. And these kinds of things happen during the play where we accept certain pieces of knowledge and what seems to be real and what seems to move on. And then suddenly we realize, wait a second, we're actually in this new place and we have been all along. And Jerry does this a number of times during the play so that a kind of suspense is revealed to be this wonderful new arena that we had not expected before.
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Jerry. Hey, hi. I want you to just there's two things that sprung out as I was looking at the show and doing the research. And I think they're very prescient. These are two like streams that just came up for me. One is the plays dealing with the nature of truth. And in this universe we have now of alternate facts and everybody being woke and truth being everybody's, own interpretation. I thought how prescient, how front and center is that? The second thing I want you to tell us about is something that came up, which is what responsibility do we owe each other in the face of this truth? Can you talk about that for me?
I think that's the when you talk about the final nugget of the play, I think that's what it is. What we owe each other, what we, why we're here, and what we can do in just a few minutes, in just some sort of encounter with someone. It matters. That moment matters, and that's the very bottom of the play, I think, and hopefully that's what people can carry out of the theater. And it's not a play where the messages are hidden. I mean, they're spoken. They're actually spoken within the play. So it's not something you have to figure out, but it takes a really good cast to do it that way. But the message is spoken about how the briefest little encounter with someone else in the world is an important thing for both of us. And we should be prepared for that. We should be ready. We should have some sort of giving within us, that can open up.
It's interesting, Jerry. I remember this is years and years and years ago. It must have been 35 years ago. And I remember getting on a plane and noticing someone and looking down at this person to see if he had a wedding ring on. And I never forgot that. And we had like 5 words, but I can see him today, 35 years later. And it was just, it was just a short little, getting on a plane together. And I know what you're talking about. Richard's giving us that sign that we have to go to quick break. I just want to, Bill, would you just do a shout out where folks can buy tickets, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. The producing unit is performing at Center Stage Theater, which is the theater on top of the Paseo Nuevo Mall. We open tonight and we run through September 30th. Tickets can be found at www.tickettour.com/CS Theater/tickets.
Can you say that one more time? Ticket Tour?
www.tickettour.com/CS Theater/tickets, or they can also just go to the Center Stage Theater website and get the tickets there.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's probably easier. Yeah, go to Center Stage. tickets and get your tickets there. And it runs tonight, and then give us the timing.
8 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So 8 o'clock p.m. is the 22nd and 23rd, the 29th and 30th. We have a 7:30 p.m. show on September 28th. And then September 23rd and 30th, we also have 2 matinees at 2:30.
Those particular dates are on the site. If you go to centerstagetheater.org, you'll also find those dates once you hit tickets. So that'll be obvious.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to quick break. When we get back, I really would like to ask, of course, I'd like to ask Peter his impressions and how he worked. I mean, how does Peter, who's this seasoned, wonderful teacher, wonderful associate with many, many stars over the years. I mean, Lisa, what is it like working with somebody like that? I mean, you know, as an actor, how I want to talk about that when we get back from the
Okay.
break.
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
so all right, everybody, we're going to go to quick break. We're celebrating Gerald DiPeggio's play that is a reprise and a very important play right now, talking about the nature of truth and our responsibility to each other. 154 in Paradise, and believe it or not, it's a murder. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works into the whole picture too. Don't turn that down. Back in a minute.
You're clear.
Very cool. I'm sorry for the painters. Got background noise. Yeah.
We don't hear the noise, but we did see the painters.
Yeah, Right. Well, I decided, when I moved in this house about 10 years ago, I painted things like I did a yellow room, I did a bright pink room, I love color, I did lots of color all over the walls. And then I thought, well, if I ever sell this place, no one's going to want a bright pink mantelpiece. No one is going to want a yellow room. So it's all white now. All
You
boring.
can see I went a different direction.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You've got like a magenta kind of walls, Lisa. Yeah. Yeah. And I like the white ceilings. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, my realtor is saying, no, everything is going to be simple white if you're going to sell. So there you go.
Elizabeth, very quickly, one thing. Jerry pronounces it with a hard G. So it's actually DiPego.
Got it. Thank you.
DiPeggio, which I like DiPeggio, but it's not. It's DiPego.
Thank you.
It's DiPeggio or DiPego?
Hard G. Pego.
Hard G. Okay.
It's a DiPego.
DiPego. Okay. So interesting because I was, just looking at just a little bit that I could find online about the play. I was thinking, well, we've got 2 great Italian playwrights here, don't we? Gerald DiPego and Pirandello. The play is it's Pirandelesque.
It has elements of 6 characters. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and frankly, Pirandello was a magic realist as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned,
Peter, it's funny. I don't know if you have this similar experience in your life, but the same group, our little high school group, there was probably 15 of us drama nerds. That we still get together for everybody's birthday and, it's Zoom or whatever. They're still most of them are still in Chicago, but.
Okay, guess what? We be coming back in 3, 2, 1. You be live.
Okay, Elizabeth Stewart here, and I am with Lisa Beck, Gerald DiPego, Peter Frisch, and Bill Egan of the producing unit. We are talking about Gerald DiPego's play 154 in Paradise. And yes, it is exactly those roads we're talking about. And before the break, I asked Lisa what it's like to be performing with a teacher, a coach, a mind, an intellect, as we have Peter Frisch here. Lisa, what is that like? Are you ever intimidated?
This is my first show with the producing unit, and I will admit that one of the reasons I hadn't auditioned for shows previously, that I was a little bit intimidated. I had, because I knew that Peter had been at Juilliard and had, been at all these amazing places, and I was kind of picturing working with him being like working with like James Lipton or so. Like I was picturing him being very pompous and actually it's been completely the opposite. He's just fantastic. He's so warm. He's so generous to the actors. He creates a fun environment. It's been one of the more fun plays that I have, in addition to being just a fantastic script and a fantastic cast and, just a wonderful experience artistically. It's actually been a really fun experience to work on the show too, because Peter does create a really wonderful, warm environment for the actors. So yes, it seems like he would be intimidating, but he's actually fantastic to work with.
So Peter, I have a question. So my sister is a SAG actress, and she works with a number of different directors, etc. And she's and then in my life, I'm a theater nerd because I didn't do any performing, but I went into set design, and I did set design for ACT, Dallas Theater Center, Pittsburgh Ballet. I did set design in Russia. I was all over the place doing set design, which is how I got into appraising art. But I did a lot of set design over years. And there are certain directors that do not let an actor have an opinion at all. And there's certain directors that do. What's your school on that?
Well, first of all, let me return the compliment to Lisa, who's been delightful to work with. Tremendous fun, and she's a good part of making that atmosphere fun and adventurous and pleasant. So I will need to say that as well. What was it in terms of getting the actor to what were you saying, to give them the question, to give them how much leeway or how
right? So do you like my sister has this joke that she tells about a certain director, and she says, well, she's in her house. This is her joke. She's in her house. She's nearly murdered, and her husband comes home and says, my God, we've got to call your friends to rally around you, and this sort of thing. And so the husband calls the director of the play she's in, and she's in a kind of a semi-coma. And when the director comes in, she wakes up and she says, oh, the director, he came to the house. Like the director would have anything to do with the performer. And so that the performer, in your mind, does the performer have an opinion? Do you listen to the actor when they're saying, well, I think I should do this?
A play is a complete collaboration.
Yep.
We are together as a group of people to explore the material. I do not play their role when it comes to being on stage. They play their role. If they are not, and I don't like to use the word comfortable when it comes to acting, but if they are not satisfied with their exploration, it's going to show on stage. So my job, and I believe the job of a director, at least for the first half of the rehearsal period, is to create frameworks for exploration. Mm-hmm. That's the initial job of the director.
Bill, did I hear you start to talk?
I was clearing my throat. Was also a nod. I've worked with Peter, Peter 7-10 times, and the atmosphere that he creates in the very beginning is, he does provide the framework, but it's a complete dialogue. If something isn't working for me, I will ask him about it, and sometimes I'm right, I feel, and sometimes the thing that's great about working with Peter is that he gives a reason for if it's not working. You don't get that with some directors. Some directors are very dictatorial, says, no, just do it this way. But the wonderful thing about the atmosphere that's created here is it does become a dialogue. And sometimes, I think Peter will freely admit this, is that some of the actors sometimes in that dialogue will bring up something that he hasn't thought about before. And he says, oh, I haven't seen it that way. And then it changes. I will say this time around, this is my second time playing James. There are things that have been discovered about this time around that did not even come into the picture the first time that it was played. So that's really been a blessing to be able to explore that in a different way. But it comes with the collaboration of the atmosphere that Peter does create, and it is a true dialogue.
I'll say related to that, because I didn't do the show the previous time. It was a different actress playing the role that I'm playing. And I didn't see it that time. And I've been told that I play it pretty differently than the person who played it previously. And I think that's one of the wonderful things. You know, if Peter had come in with a really specific idea that he wanted to recreate what had happened before, well, he's got different actors and they bring different things to roles, and that would have been very, very difficult to do. So I think that leeway that he provides for people to explore and find the characters themselves is what makes it work, and it makes it a really rich performance, and it makes it really different than the previous time. So we have found really different things, I think, than and the show will look different. So people who saw it before, you should come back, because it's going to be a different show this time.
Can I ask Jerry, I hate to do this, Jerry, but can I ask you just to summarize the arc of the play for us?
The play actually begins a week and a half after there has been a fatal accident on 154 in Paradise Road. And an examiner gathers all the people who had any contact with the deceased man on the last day of his life. So you have this room full of people, all of them have, strong emotions because they've known this man. And one by one, he talks to them, and they talk to each other, and they're looking for, the examiner is looking for the truth. And each person believes they're bringing in their own truth, or maybe they're hiding a little bit of their own truth. And it's that examination that gets down finally at the end of the play to the very truth of the 154 in Paradise calamity.
Why is the examiner not named?
Because he's not, he does give his name. They ask him, what is your name? And he tells them, but that's all he tells them. Because he's not, this is where magical realism comes into it. He's not somebody you can place. He doesn't finish his examination and then go home to dinner with his family. He's operating in a world that is partially magical.
May I ask why is he so involved with finding the truth? The notes are telling me that the examiner shows up to find the truth about James Henry out of a pool of like 7,000 different deaths that he could have examined. Why does he pick this one?
That's actually asked in the play. Why? And he says, well, it's my job. I showed up because that's my job. So it's not like he's got this burning personal notion about finding out. He is the examiner, and that's his job. And this is what he was given, and he does it well.
Were you thinking of anything recent in our own living history when you were thinking of the role of an examiner? No.
Yeah, not necessarily. No, it's just an invention.
And then finally, the idea of choosing the investigation of the last day of this man's life. Why did you select that particular time frame, the last day?
Well, because it's so much more powerful than the last year of his life, the last this of his life. We're going to one particular day, and the play just coalesces that way. That's what we're looking at, this one day from the time he woke up to the time he died. And so it makes it very compact, and I think more powerful that way.
I have to say it's been interesting because my partner John has been on the road for almost 2 months. He's on a walkabout. He took a car and he just traveled across the country. He's stopping where he wants. He's doing what he wants. He's got a bike on the back of the car. He finds himself in a town. He starts to talk with the hotel staff. And when I was reading about this in the play notes, involving the play involving the powerful ways in which we are interconnected and the responsibility we have to each other. As the examiner states, I love this, every encounter is a chance to affect someone's life. Even if they go on and live 100 years or they die in the next hour, we had a chance. What did we say? How did we look at them? What about tomorrow on the street, in the store, in our home, in our bed? What do we say? How will we look at them? Will we take the chance or let it go? And it's so interesting because my partner's telling me about these chance encounters with people and how it can change his mood, his day, his driving style, the place he goes next.
Yeah. It's powerful, yeah. Yeah.
Peter, one more time, tell folks how to get the tickets, when the performances are, do a shout out. So in case they got a pen and paper, let's let them know.
We open tonight, which is the 22nd, and we close on the Saturday night the following week, which is the 30th. And all those times in between, evenings and matinees, excuse me, sorry, getting over a cold. All those times can be found on www.centerstagetheater.org. Theater is TER, not TRE. Centerstagetheater.org. And when you get onto that, you'll see our little, promotional sign, and it says, one of the tabs says tickets. Press tickets, and you'll see all those dates in between. But basically, we're talking Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, Saturday matinee, and Sunday matinee this particular week.
When we get back from the break, I want everybody here, Bill and Peter and Lisa and Jerry, I want to have an example from each of you, maybe from the play, maybe from your life, of this particular theme that I'm seeing here, that truth is an act, an action. Truth is an act. So I'd love an example, maybe drawn from the play, maybe drawn from your own life, of truth as an act. And not an interpretation, not an opinion, not a conjecture, but an act, an action. Love to have an example when we get back from the break. Hey, Richard, let's go to quick break. We get back, I want to hear the reaction to the statement, truth is an act. We are celebrating a play by Gerald DePego, who is a fantastic writer. This is a play that is going to be performed at Center Stage by the producing unit. My friend Bill Egan has actually emailed Richard and myself and said, this is an important piece of theater that you ought to cover, and I agree. Don't turn that dial, back in a minute.
All right, you're clear.
We're still on break, short break, but it's interesting. I was telling you guys about my partner taking off to the other side of the country. And he was telling me this morning, he says, oh, one of the staff at this hotel, South American woman, been in this country like 10, 15 years and pretty devout Catholic. And her daughters, I mean, she's checking into the hotel. And this woman tells him, total stranger, you know, my daughters are really bothering me. They're born again Christians and I'd rather stay Catholic. It's like, and they got into this big discussion about religion. It's, you know, a minute just checking in and boom, checking into some unknown hotel in Oklahoma. And this is what he gets.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's one of the fascinating things I think about when you travel. You just never, these chance encounters, you'll never see that person again. And it might really inform, or you'll at least have a great story.
But, the thing is, maybe we could do that in just our daily lives, as well. It's not just, okay, I'm in the bubble of traveling, so I'm allowed to do this.
I think that makes it safer because you're not afraid of people, carrying over those opinions about you. It makes it easier to jump in and do that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I do remember once. Am I on?
We can hear you.
Not
Yeah, we
yet.
can hear you.
Stand by. I'll let
We
you
can
know.
hear
I'll
you,
give
Jerry.
I'll give Elizabeth
we're on
a
break.
cue.
We're still on
she'll
break,
go
okay.
live and then she'll bring you in. So just hang
Yeah,
on.
okay. Sorry.
You're good. You're all good. Except for William. He's okay. Nah, he's good too.
That's
Okay.
generous of you.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. We're talking about a play that is super interesting to me. It's 154 in Paradise. And yes, it is our own 154 in Paradise. And it's that really dangerous, Richard, you know what I'm talking about, that really dangerous, slip onto the road there. And what I was reading is that even, this is going to kind of blow your mind, Richard. So to do the play, they went and studied the visual obstruction and noticed everybody speeding on the pass. And the site of the fictional crash was photographed and measured by Bill and the rest of a number of the cast. When the examiner in the play is showing the photos, Richard, of the crash site, they're actual photos of the site. Isn't that cool? You know what I'm talking about, right? Right there, it's where you are up at your ranch.
Yes, I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And it definitely is dangerous.
Yeah.
So there's a quick segue back to my question. I asked before the break if all of my guests could give me an example of truth as an act. I never thought about an act, a truth as an act. I'm acting a truth. And Lisa, can I start with you? So give me an example of what that means. What truth as an act?
Well, I'll talk about an example from the play. This comes up a lot over the course of the play, because they're looking back on an accident, and we've all heard the things about if you talk to people who witnessed an accident, all the witnesses will have a different story. It'll sound, they'll all have seen something different because our memories are fallible and we remember things the way we want to remember them, or we remember things because we focused on this particular thing and it became bigger in our minds than it was in reality. And so that's one of the challenges that they're dealing with in the play, is they're trying to reconstruct what happened on this person's last day, but people's memories are so different from the reality of what happened. And so that's really what the play is trying to get at, is that the reality of what happened in that instant is the truth. That's the truth. And what we carry within us, what we remember, the way we saw things is not necessarily the truth. It's sort of a lie that we tell ourselves. So it's a really interesting piece to explore that. And we all see that in our everyday lives. I argue with my teenagers about, our different opinions about the way that things all the time, every single day. So I just love that exploration. I'll pass it over to somebody else.
Yes, especially as you're saying, this is so interesting to me. I was actually involved. I witnessed an accident in Goleta on Hollister, and cops came, pulled over a bunch of us that had witnessed this accident, and we all spoke what we thought we saw, and that it was all different, even down to the height of the person. I think one was the sex was different. I mean, how different it was, just
It's
amazingly different.
amazing.
And we
Yeah.
were all standing together, waiting to cross the street. You know, how can that be so different? Anyway, Peter, give me an example. Truth is an act.
Well, I'm going to give you an example of both themes that immediately came to me when you asked that question. And the themes again are, yes, truth is an act, but the other theme, of course, is the request for kind acts and the way that, sort of like the butterfly effect, we affect each other, no matter what we do. The slightest thing, we affect each other. And I thought of this funny incident where I was recovering from surgery decades ago, and a very close friend of mine came in right as I was waking up from surgery, and came in with a little miniature toy monkey that when you press the bottom of the monkey, it just collapsed. And then you let go of the bottom button, and it, became the monkey again. And for some reason, this affected me in a very deep way. It was a warming, extraordinary presence. The monkey itself was true. It was no question. She delivered it. It was an object. There was not interpretation, but it also was a kind act that meant a great deal to me. To the fact that maybe 40 years later now, I'm remembering that with fondness, and I kept that monkey for decades. Just because it affected me so deeply. And yet it was, she just went, and she knew exactly what to get. And it was a powerful, kind act, as small as it was.
Do you think that monkey was you?
Well, that's an interesting potential interpretation. No, I don't. I think it was just very funny and very sweet. And what I do think was it was symbolic of that relationship.
Is it why I think about that collapsing and rebuilding is that, well, Richard knows I was in ballet for many, many, many years, and therefore I have hips to prove it and knees to prove it and the joints in my the ball of my foot to prove it. And I had 3 surgeries this past couple of years on one hip to try to rebuild it, and it hasn't been all that successful. And when you're recovering from that kind of surgery, to think of yourself as collapsed and then being whole again, that's what I was kind of thinking. Oh, I felt like that monkey myself.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see, Bill, truth is an act. Can you reflect on that for us?
I was thinking about that on the break, and really, I'd actually like to use a quote from the show to kind of answer that and do that. And it's actually a quote from the Examiner. Just the importance of truth, whether it's actually bad or good. And he says, the truth isn't bad or good. It's just there to be discovered, seen clearly, and studied to do that. So I think it's super important to look at that.
Yeah.
It's not, the truth is not bad or good, but
the truth isn't bad or good. It's just there to be discovered, seen clearly, and studied. And that's part of what he does. But truth, and I think it speaks to what people have said here, that someone's truth may not be what other truth. You use the example of the accident. Everyone had a different version of what was going on. Might be good, might be bad to that particular person, but it doesn't matter if it's bad or good. It's to that person, but it needs to be studied and examined clearly. And that's part of what we do in this show.
So Jerry, so the final question would be to you in regards to truth as an act and your opinion of it, because what Bill is saying is it's not bad or good, it's there to be discovered. But I want to ask, as all actions have an end point, what to what end is truth being discovered? What are you going to do with the truth? What action comes of discovering the truth, Jerry?
Well, it's interesting that the examiner talks about the full and final truth, because the whole play, people are saying what they believe is true, or sometimes they're hedging a little bit, but comes down to the full and final truth. And the truth being an act can be as simple as okay, you're walking down the street and there's somebody walking toward you and they're having a little trouble with their cane, an older person, and you're about to pass each other. Hello, how you doing? I'm doing okay. And you can very easily just pass by. Or you could say, are you having a little trouble there? Can I help you? And maybe you help them across the street or something like that. So I mean, that's the kind of decisions that the play in various ways brings up that kind of thing, where in that sense there is an act. It's not just two people in passage, but you can make it an act.
So Jerry, Richard's giving us a sign. We got to go to a quick break, but I'm interested to know, if truth is an act, is it an act of character? Is that what we're looking for there? Is it an act of character? And what you're saying, the example of the old person with the cane and drops the cane and you go to pick it up. Is your truth your character? I want to hear about that when we get back from the break. Hey, Richard. Hey, Richard.
You're clear.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Cherry, you're hearing me? I mean, the truth could also be that you pass the person with a cane and you grab the cane, take it, and steal it.
That's right.
That's an act.
Whatever choice. Yep. Whatever choice.
It's got nothing to do with opinion. It's got nothing to do with any kind of it doesn't have to do with character.
No,
It has to do with what has happened. What exists. Yeah.
It's the full and final truth. And
yes, that's right. The full and final truth that cannot be debated. It's not opinion. It's not conjecture. It's not projection. It's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting you use the word projection, Peter. So if I understand that you said it's not about character, but it's about your choices. But isn't that character and this projection that you're talking about? I'm a victim of this, and I also partake in it. This transference, projection.
Yeah, we all do to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd like to know from Jerry also this full and final truth. What makes a truth final? What is finality in regards to truth seeking? I'd love to hear what Jerry has to say about that. It's fascinating.
Wait till the end of the break.
Yeah, we'll get back. Richard will give us a sign, and then we'll read. Yeah, there we go.
You're going to have about 3 minutes, 2.5 to 3 minutes left. So you'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah, I want Jerry to talk about the full and final truth.
You mean now, or are we not on?
Yeah, Richard will give us a sign that
Okay.
he's still got. Yeah, he's got station ID.
Okay.
All right, you've got. I take that back. You've got 3.5. In 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. I'm celebrating a play, 154th and Paradise, written by Gerald DePeggio. And Gerald is here talking about the play, along with Peter Frisch, the director, and Bill Egan, one of the founders of the producing unit, who's doing the play, and Lisa Beck, one of the beautiful actors in the play. And I want to do just a few minutes asking Jerry. He's quoted as saying one of the main themes of this play is the nature of truth. And then a couple of times during our discussion of the play, he said the full and final truth. And I want to ask Jerry 2 questions, and I know we only have like 3 minutes, Jerry, but maybe very quickly. Can a truth be made? Number 1. So you make a truth. And number 2, why is truth final?
Well, you really have to get down to the simple idea that the truth is exactly what happened in this case. They're trying to find out exactly what happened at that intersection. And you can't get around the exact and final truth. It's just one thing, and it's not necessarily good or bad or somebody's opinion. There's no opinion. You finally get down to the very nub of, in this case, exactly what happened in that second, in that intersection. And that's the truth, the full and final truth. I don't want to give it away, but that's what the play comes down to, finding that truth.
Is it such that you can say that when I was saying why is the truth final, is the truth being final the fact that the gentleman involved in the accident is dead?
Well, in this case, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, if I can just interject here, earlier on, you had mentioned the word murder. And that's not something that we'd like to say about what happened, because there needs to be some intrigue there on there. So in your editing, Richard, if you could take that out of what Elizabeth had said.
Okay. Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. So just a really quick shout out. The play is opening tonight, and if you're listening and it's September 22nd, the play is opening at 8 o'clock at Center Stage Theater. You can get your tickets, Center Stage Theater website, and it's going to be running to the 30th at various times. So take a look at the website, Center Stage Theater, for 154th and Paradise. Thank you, guys.
Okay, you're clear.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much, everybody. Bill, thank you. Jerry, Peter, Lisa, thank you very much.
Us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
So
us.
much. Really appreciate it, Elizabeth.
Appreciate it.
Thank